Why most business advice fails owners. Why is it so many times after taking business advice, companies don't achieve the performance improvements they expected? Why don't they see a significant improvement in profits, cash flow, return on equity, and company value? There are two reasons why business advice often falls short for owners. First, the business advice is not grounded in a systems mindset. Second, the business advice is not tested in simulations before it's put into action. Hello, my name is Brant Friesen. I live in Vancouver, Canada, and I work with entrepreneurs, company owners, and their teams to show them how to think in terms of systems and apply a systems mindset and use 3D rapid test and validation simulations to maximize their profits, cash flow, return on equity, and company value. In my YouTube channel videos, I present systems mindset principles illustrated with case studies and 3D rapid test and validation simulations. The videos draw from my 45 years working with growth mode companies in a wide range of industries. My goal is to show you how to think with a systems mindset and how to apply 3D rapid test and validation simulations to design and implement high leverage policies to manage the systems making up your operating, investing, and finance activities. In this video, I'll show you why business advice that's not grounded in a systems mindset results in one or two dimension recommendations. Recommendations designed to improve one or two of a company's operating, investing, and finance activities, but not all three activities. When business advice is grounded in a systems mindset, policy recommendations are three-dimensional. Business advisors with a systems mindset are always asking the question, how do the policy recommendations I'm making affect all three of my company's operating, investing, and finance activities? And what will the company's income statement, cash flow, and balance sheet look like in the future? Think of your operating, investing, and finance activities as three links in a chain. Business advisors who think in only one or two dimensions assume the chain will automatically be stronger by improving the strength of any one or two links in the chain. It's very easy to make this assumption when the policy recommendations to strengthen a link in the chain look so good, and because you don't have a way of testing whether or not the other links in the chain will be as strong or stronger, you may as well be optimistic and assume that the recommendations will improve overall company performance. Say you get good policy recommendations to expand and improve your operations activities. What have you got to lose? You go for it. You commit time and resources to implementing the new policies. But then you find out you don't have the finance capacity to fund the expansion. The expansion plan stalls until you can strengthen the finance link in your chain. In another example, say you strengthen the finance link in your chain with a new bank borrowing agreement. You use the funds to strengthen the investment link in your chain with the purchase of more production capacity. But then you find out you don't have the marketing and sales capacity in your operations to create the customer demand needed to sell the increased production capacity. The problem with one or two dimension recommendations is how easy it is to fall into a local optimization or you can't have too much of a good thing trap. In a systems mindset, the assumption is a chain is only as strong as its weakest link. You can make the other links stronger, but there'll be no improvement in the strength of the chain until you strengthen the weakest link. So, why aren't all policy recommendations grounded in a systems mindset? There are two reasons. First, business advice comes from subject matter experts from within or outside a company. In most cases, they don't have a systems mindset, or their systems mindset isn't coherent because it only extends to the systems in their area of expertise. It's simpler to focus on a few interrelated activities than dealing with the interrelationships of a larger group of activities. It's also much simpler to build widgets and models to test the effect of policy recommendations on a smaller group of activities. These can be built using spreadsheet programs such as Excel or Google Sheets. Using spreadsheets, it's next to impossible to build and run coherent 3D simulations to rapid test and validate the future effect of policy recommendations on a company's operating, investing, and finance activities. Without access to 3D rapid test and validation simulators, business advisors fall back to focusing on policy recommendations for only one or two company activities. Failing to run 3D rapid test and validation during the design and implementation of policy recommendations has other negative effects. Policy recommendations that aren't tested and validated in a simulator during the design stage and after rollout have a very low probability of meeting their expected performance results. When you use a 3D rapid test and validation simulator, you can set an infinite variety of parameters and test an infinite number of policy recommendations over a compressed period of time. When you don't run 3D rapid test and validation simulations, you can only test policy recommendations in real life. To do this, you need to commit resources over a period of time. In most cases, companies don't have the time to wait for real-life or practical testing to run its course, so they just launch the new policies without testing them and see how they perform. Another issue is, companies without 3D rapid test and validation simulators do not gain the tremendous motivational edge that these simulators provide. 3D rapid test and validation simulations inspire teams and drive buy-in. When a company has a simulator at their disposal, they use it throughout the policy design and testing process. The external business advisors and team members involved in the policy design are continuously simulating scenarios. The simulations are a rallying point for everyone involved, and buy-in grows as the policies are developed. Seeing is believing. 3D simulations are inspirational for the entire company because they show a clear and coherent picture of the future. Seeing this picture motivates team members to bring it to life. Contrast this with companies that do not run their policy recommendations through a coherent simulator. In these companies, policy recommendations are implemented without testing. Team members don't gain the confidence in the policies that testing provides. Team members also don't have the future perspective and clarity of simulations to guide and inspire them. Companies that use 3D rapid test and validation simulations have a tremendous competitive advantage over companies who don't use them to test their policy recommendations. If you take only one idea from this video, let it be this. Most business problems are not caused by a lack of effort and intelligence. They're caused by decisions that make sense in isolation, but don't make sense together. That's why this channel exists. Everything we'll cover here is about learning how to see your company as a system, not as a collection of departments, metrics, or best practices. In the next series of videos, Moneyball for Entrepreneurs, Be Fast with Your Stats, we'll start with the first foundational systems mindset, 3D thinking. I'll show you why operating, investing, and finance decisions can't be evaluated separately, and how well-intended improvements in one area can quietly degrade performance in another. Once you see your business in 3 dimensions, you'll never look at decisions the same way again. If this perspective is useful to you and your team, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.